satisfy me. You will satisfy. You will satisfy me. You will satisfy. You know say that? You will satisfy me. You will satisfy. You will satisfy me. You will satisfy everything I wanted, everything I dreamed. God, it all seems worthless now that you're here with me. Right here in your presence, I have been set free. And I won't leave empty. You are more than what I need. I know you will satisfy me. Yeah. You will satisfy. I know you will satisfy me. You will satisfy. Oh, you will satisfy. Yes, Lord. You will satisfy. I know you will satisfy me. You will satisfy. Yes, Lord. What more could I ask for? What more could I say? All earthly desires seem to fade away. You set me on fire. There's a burning in my soul. You purify my passion. It's your will. Your will is what I and now my heart is full. My heart is full of you. And my joy is from me. Well, of living water. Well, of living water. You won't leave me. You will satisfy me. Yeah. You will satisfy. I know you will. You will satisfy me. Oh, you will satisfy. Right here in your presence, Lord. You will satisfy. I know you will. You will satisfy me. You will satisfy. Oh. Can you lift it up? Come on and sing. Come on, lift it up one more time. Say, oh. Well of living water, you will never run dry. Yeah. Well of living water, you will satisfy. Oh yes you will. Oh yes you will. When that thing hits your spirit, say, well of living water, you will never run dry. Oh, so I'm running to you. Oh, say, well of living water, you will satisfy. Remind your situation that the well of living water, it will never run dry. I need you to remind your situation, speak right to it, and tell it that the well of living water, you will satisfy. You will satisfy me. With long life you will. Come on, tell your situation you will satisfy. I'm satisfied with you. I'm satisfied with you. I be with you. You will satisfy me. Lord, you satisfy me. I'm sitting in the kitchen and I was like, Lord, what am I going to do? I have all these responsibilities, all this going on, and it seems like I'm doing everything I can for you, and everything's just going opposite. Anybody ever been there where it seems like you were doing all you knew to do, and still took 2 steps forward, and you took 5 steps back, and you're saying, God, what in the world is going on? And I was sitting in my kitchen, and I didn't understand it, and then these words came. I said, Lord, you are good. You've been so good. Lord, you are good. You've been better than good. I can't praise you enough. I owe you my life. Can't praise you enough. Even if I try, 'cause you've been so good. Lift your voice. Come on, tell them today. You so good to me. That's all I hear. Everybody lift up your voice. Lord, you are good. You've been so good. Come on, say, Lord, you are good. You are good. You've been better than good. I can't praise you. It's because I owe you, Jesus. I owe you my life. Can't praise you enough. Somebody say, even if I tried, it wouldn't work. So good to me. Hallelujah to your name. Come on, lift up those voices and declare today. You've been so good. Lord, you are good. You've been better. I owe you my Lord. I can't forget that. Somebody say, even if I try, it wouldn't work because. Come on and lift up your voices. So good to me. Come on, sit on. You've been so good. I don't know why you do it, God. But God loves the great you, I can't breathe. Somebody declare, even if I had 10,000 tongues, it wouldn't work. So good. You've been so good. Somebody raise up your voice tonight. So good to me. Now listen, we're getting ready to testify of the goodness of our Savior. So many ways you made. So many times. Has he been better than good to anybody? So many times. So many ways. So many times. Tell somebody, you've been better than good to me. So many times. So many ways. So many times. You've been better. You've been better. So many times. I can't begin to count the ways. You healed me. You blessed me. You've been better than good to me. You've been better than good to me. You've been better. I don't know why you do it, but I'm grateful. You've been better than good. I should have lost my mind a long time ago. You've been have to give you all the glory tonight. When I think of the goodness of Jesus, I have to say, you've been better. You've been better. I was sitting over the dishes with tears in my eyes, and I had to declare out of the hard place that you've still been better. I can never repay you, Lord. I can never repay you, Lord. I can never repay you, Lord, for what you've done for me. How you loose my shackles, and how you set me free. How you made a way when there was no way. How you made a way when there was no way. How you made a way when there was no way. Oh God, you made a way. 'Cause you've been so good. Come on, lift it up. You've been so good. Oh, right there, right there. Let them hear your heart in there tonight. You've been so good. When I almost lost my mind, when the enemy came in like a flood, you've been so good. Everybody lift your voice, say, you've been so good to me.
Well, praise God. I hope you guys can hear me out there. I don't think I have anybody on right now, but we're recording anyhow. And well, I've been praying, and as I was praying, I heard the Lord say to move in the direction of intercessory prayer. Now, for a lot of us, I know that may be an issue, to stay in intercessory prayer, because what is being done is that you need to stay in intercessory prayer. I am in agreement with the movement that Dr. Juanita Bynum is having. And I do suggest, I do suggest, I'm going to go ahead and put it up there, that you guys join her. As I was praying, God was just showing me some things in the spirit. And some things only come by way of the spirit and obedience. If you have a pen or a piece of paper, because I'm not, as she would say, gonna Bible thump you today, but if you have a piece of paper, write that down. Some things, some deliverances, some healings only come by way of the spirit and obedience. So yes, I do recommend being a part of her intercessory prayer movement. I'm going to put her information up there. I got mine. You guys go get yours. A prayer emergency kit. I don't actually have mine here to show you. I ordered mine when I heard the Lord say, do it. And hopefully it's up there on the screen if you guys can see it. It has her information on it. You can always go to her website. I'm going to go ahead and try to put that back up there. Ooh, excuse me. Oh, that must be mine. Let me find out. Bear with me here. So anyway, I was led by the Spirit to go ahead and give a testimony on intercessory prayer and why I know that is what God is saying for this hour and why I am in agreement with it. Okay, here we go. Here's her information. I'm going to repeat that again. I am in agreement of the prayer kit and the movement that Dr. Juanita Bynum is having. And I do suggest that you guys, I'll post them on the Women of Fire page at 5:00 in the morning, the intercessory prayers and what she has or whatever on our page over there of the Women of Fire. Excuse me tonight, guys. I'll go ahead and post those over there in the mornings at 5:00. So anyway, if go ahead and get that information down. If you missed this, then you'll just have to go back and get it. But like I said, I was led by the Spirit to give a testimony on intercessory prayer, why I know this is what God is saying and why I am in agreement with it for this hour is because, bear with me here just a second. Hide that for a minute. Is because some of you know my testimony and some of you don't know my testimony. Well, at 17 years old, I got thrown from a vehicle, ejected, thrown, whatever you want to call it. And the doctors, the police, and nobody could believe it because they said that things that happen to people like that end up usually paralyzed or dead. And there were two other people in the vehicle, did not, nothing happened to them as well. They're also living to tell the testimony and the story. But when I got thrown from that vehicle, again, I was only 17 years old when this happened. And, I just was in shock. I never had to go get any kind of, it was shocking after that. So I was quiet and I prayed all the time. And I began to develop an ear to hear the voice of the Lord. This is a testimony tonight. While I'm telling you guys that intercessory prayer is the route to go in this hour, I'm 100% sure. And I know that I have an ear. And so that in itself, in its testimony, my testimony in itself is that, I was very quiet after that because as a 17, when my mother walked into the emergency room, she passed out. Whammy number two, when I got thrown from that vehicle, I wanted to go see my face because I could feel, and you can't tell right now because I have makeup and everything on, but I thought that my eyelid was hanging over because it was skin there. So I thought the skin was coming from my forehead on down to, like hanging over. I forgot that I had on a bandana. Mind you, I was not driving. I was in the back seat with no seatbelt on. And to put on top of that, I didn't die or I wasn't paralyzed. They also said that if I would have had my seatbelt on, being the back seat passenger, that I would have died because then I would have been stuck inside the vehicle. Vehicle flipped so many times way out in the field. And I got thrown from the back as it flipped. Now, my two friends had already got up. I could hear them because somebody asked me, I shared this testimony just yesterday. And the lady that I shared the testimony with said, my mom died. She was in your same position and she died and I only got hurt. And she said, because we're talking about, Jesus and the Spirit of God and being, that is that season. And she said, did your life flash before your eyes? I said, nope. It was pitch black. And as I'm talking to you guys, I can remember getting up from that vehicle because I have a scar here. And it had a piece of glass in it. Well, at the time, chopped and screwed up music was in. And so we were listening to Shake Them Haters Off, and it was going real slow. And I could remember this just like it was just today, because I don't normally tell this testimony. So, I felt led today. And, but anyway, so as the vehicle was turned over, flipped, I'm running around the vehicle as the other two are already headed back toward the road, because this is way out in a field. And it was going, and I probably had a few nightmares and then I got over it. But, the only thing that was on that car still going was that the CD player in the car, and it was going, and I was like, oh my goodness. The only thing I was trying to do was see if I could find a mirror, because I wanted to see my face. But if you have that same question like she asked me, because she was actually, as I was talking about, I gave this testimony maybe yesterday, before yesterday, and she said that because she's seen her life flash, but she's still living. So she's seen the time that she was born, or I think she actually even said in her mother's womb. She could see all of that up until that moment, and bam, she woke up. Not me. I jumped up. Everything was black. I jumped up and I seen this blood I didn't know what was going on. The mirrors were all smashed in, so I couldn't see. So I ran and I was hollering, the people's name. And I got there and it was a lady, and she just grabbed me and she was like, oh, and she was crying, as though she knew me and she didn't. And I was trying to ask her what is going on with my face. And she said, I cannot let you see it. I cannot let you see it. You will go into shock. And she just said, let me just give you a hug and hold you while you're, here. And she was and we waited and we got an ambulance. I was in shock. Like I said, the only words that I was like, I want to see, and after she calmed me down from not seeing my face, then we get to the hospital. My mom walks in, she passes out. My auntie is slowly, gradually gravitating toward me, but she's going to have to comfort me now because I have to pack my mom out. And so my auntie's like, baby, it's going to be okay. And I'm just looking. I ain't shedding not one tear. I'm still in shock. I'm just looking. And so by the time we got released, we get in the car. I'm just in the back looking. You're talking about somebody that I was just shocked. So I began to go to churches around Oklahoma City with different people, tell my testimony, how I got through it. If you're just tuning in, I've been led to tell first of all, I've been led to go in the direction or to tell people that this is the season of intercessory prayer. And I am joining up with Juanita Bynum and her intercessory prayer and her kit. If you want to go grab one, I've purchased one already. Here is the information. It should have popped up, or you can just go to her website. That there's the information for that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and pull that down and continue to tell. So I was continue to tell my testimony. I have been at 17 years old. I got ejected from a vehicle. They said I should have been dead or paralyzed, and I kind of went into detail, which I usually don't, but I felt led. So anyway, I began to go around a different church. I was in shock. This probably shocked me I may have just come out of shock, to be quite honest with you. I've been handled very carefully, so I may have just came out of shock. But everybody's like, you got to tell it. If God does something like that for you, you got to go tell it on the mountain. So I have friends who I hope you guys can hear me. We would go around to different churches and I would just, I got thrown from a vehicle and they said this and they said that. we would go. And what I was explaining was I was developing an earway at 17 years old to hear the Lord, in which, after this, I'm actually going to do a room over in Women's Women of Fire page, and we're going to talk a little bit. But so, I may not hit every detail here, but I'm trying to give as much as I can before 7:30. So anyway, I began to develop an ear, and it began to get even more. I was just shocked. I just wasn't saying anything. Like, I was shocked. And so when God started speaking to me, I started moving when he said move. And I remember I went to a church, and the Lord said, you're going back to that church again next Sunday. And when you go to that church next Sunday, you are to give that pastor $1,000. And I said, okay. I mean, when I was in shock, like I said, I probably just came out of shock. It sounds like I hear some squeaking. I don't know if that's this mic. But anyway, so I did what he said. Well, I went to the, I wasn't like, it was not emotional or anything like that. I went, and the assistant pastor was standing there, and I was like, who's the pastor, or where's the pastor? And he was like, who wants to know? I said, I want to know. He was like, why? I said, because the Lord told me to give him something. He was like, let me go check and see. And so he went, and he came back out. And when he came back out, he said, you can go in. And I went in, and I said, God told me to give you this. And I walked out, and I went in to go sit into the congregation. Now, I mean, I sat there and probably went to another level of shock, because, you sit through the service or whatever. And then, I think it was one of those kind of services where you give the honor, giving God an honor to maybe a fundraiser. I don't know. I can remember this part, though, at the end, because, after it was thank you and thank you, I can kind of remember, if I can remember clearly, the pastor was saying, but God, and I'm just still sitting there. And he said that, and he was, tearing up whatever that. That's all they needed was $1,000 in order to keep those church doors open. So that took me on, and that was huge for me at 17 years old. You got to think about it. At 17 years old, I'm thrown from a vehicle. My life has changed drastically because I'm changed by the way that I look at 17. I have, but I could never really focus on that a lot because I was too in shock about, the whole situation or whatever. So that happened, and I'm still developing an ear, right? So the Lord said, you go back to that church. You begin to go to that church at 5:00 in the morning, because we are talking about intercessory prayer and how I'm telling people that I am in agreement. And I know that is what God is saying for this hour. And Dr. Juanita Bynum is holding she has the time and the availability. We ought to thank God that somebody, and I'm going to tell you why I know this, and I'm not making this up, that somebody can sit there all day and all night and not budge and be there until God tells her to get up. You guys better get over there and do whatever she's telling y'all to do. But I am going to put up this information again, because I'm putting it up and then I'm taking it back down. So again, you guys better get over there, because I'm telling you what I know. Get over there, because that is what's been said for this hour. So there's the information. You can go to her website, by yourself if you want, or you can grab the information and grab your point of contact prayer kit. I think she calls it an emergency kit. And then on top of that, they found some anointing oil up under the carpet. But anyway, you go over there and let her tell her testimony. I'm telling mine and why I know. But anyway, she's there until God tells her to get up. So I said, okay, Lord. And that was it. It wasn't, let me think about this for a little bit. At that time, because of the shock that I was in, it was just, okay, Lord. It was just, okay, Lord. Everything the Lord told me to do was like, okay, Lord. And so I began to go to prayer, and I would be there on time, 5 a.m. in the mornings. And I would get there before everybody else, and the pastor would get there. And sometimes it would be like cars whipped all the way around. And I remember one morning the pastor passed me by. He said, Sister Kristle, I think this is your prayer service. And I was like, huh? I don't think so, but what happened inside of this intercessory prayer, and I may be giving it a little bit too much information, but I will tell you that I do know that it is that season. But anyway, it is the season for that. And this is what I do know. I know for sure that some things will not break off of you. And it may not even happen immediately. You just have to really, really trust God, because I never knew what God was doing in my life as this happened to me. I never knew what God was doing. I just always trusted the Lord, and I've really been blessed by it. And it wasn't always material things. God has richly blessed me in my spirit from intercessory prayer. Now, some of you guys, and this is the prophet side of me coming out, need to be blessed that way, because you might be financially okay right now. You may be in a good spot, but spiritually, God was telling me depression is another big one. Depression is huge. Okay. Let me tell you something. I never had a problem with the obedience of God. I was shocked. I can't say I was always scared. I was just shocked, because when God moves like that, and you're obedient like that, and you really don't know what God is doing, it shocks you. It takes your brain into a shock. And so when God would be using me in that manner, depression is a big one. And God is telling me that we can't, we can't break off depression from it's not going to be every day. Oh, I'm going to spend 15 minutes listening to this pretty worship song, and I just don't know why I have not been delivered from depression. God, every day I come to you for 15 minutes, because some things have to be purified off of you. And this is what I know. You have to be purified to get that thing off of you. Now, a lot of us don't like to hear that, because when we hear obedience and words like that, we go straight to the negative, but it actually helps you in the positive. So those of you who don't believe that God is delivering you from depression or things of that nature, you're asking God. You could be online right now asking God, Lord, if you're real and you want me to do this and you want me to do that, give you a quick testimony. When God used to use me, I go through, that is kind of my pattern when he starts giving me like a prophetic word. And then I begin to operate in that prophetic for that person. I'm always fully there, and I always am fully obedient until it starts happening a lot. And I used to get what you call anxiety. It would give me anxiety when I didn't know where to focus. Just the gift itself. The gift gave me anxiety. Somebody got upset for me saying that the other day, but I'm just telling the honest God truth. Just the gift alone, because it's powerful. And it would give me crazy anxiety. And then I stop. So I know what stops me. I get anxiety because I have to redirect my focus on what God is saying, because if you miss God, then you miss the blessing. And if you miss God sometime when he's telling you to do something, you may, it's just you want to be on point, but not to the point where it gives you anxiety. So I back up sometimes. When it begins to give me anxiety, I start backing up and just start seeking God, because God is not a God that is he is the same. But if you're going to move around in the prophetic, sometimes you have to move around. You have to move around with the Spirit of God, and you have to. So some of you guys, God told me to come tell you that. Some of you guys, your anxiety and your depression is coming from not knowing how to operate in your gift, because God led me so far. And then when I don't know, when I talked to my doctor about it, because even in school, I wanted to be a straight A student. After I talked to my doctor about it, she said, well, what happens is, because I couldn't articulate it. I just couldn't. And she said, well, what happens is that when you cannot focus on one task, it gives you anxiety. Well, really for me, it is my gift starts giving me anxiety when I don't know where to direct it. And so I'm like, people are like, you're scared. No, I'm not scared. I'm not. I don't know where to, and then I say, that's the enemy. The enemy will try to stop you from being able to hear God. But anyway, where are we? Okay, so anyway, so yes, again, if you are watching, it is I was saying thank God for the obedience of Juanita, because she is in a position for this very moment that God has placed her in order for some of these things to be broken off of your life. It's going to come by purification and obedience and intercessory prayer. Because you talk about going, and talk about going back to the church. You have to have a prepared place. You have to have, I never knew what I was doing, but you have to have a prepared place when you go back in. So anyway, I came on there to say that to you guys today. I didn't thump you, but God did say he is always with you, because you guys are getting ready to learn how to use your gift. You got to get under the right people. You cannot run. You cannot buck. You're going to have to understand, because if not, that gift is like a thorn in your flesh, and it will drive you up the wall because you're not being obedient with your gift, and you will have to get under somebody who will teach you. That's why when people tell you to write stuff down and things like that, you need to do it. You need to go back. You need to study, because some of you guys that are people of God that are dealing with these anxiety and depression is because you don't know how to operate in your gift, which is probably the prophetic. Because like I told you, my testimony from it is I can function in it, but after so long, it begins to be overwhelming. Like, okay, Lord, I know, it just begins to be overwhelming. So that will come by purification, obedience, and intercessory prayer, and then getting under the right person who can help you function in that, I don't know if mantle or that gift that God has given you. Is probably the prophetic. But anyway, so that's what I came on there to say today. And I'll be moving from over here over to the Women of Fire page. I'll sit here. I might just turn this music up a little bit more, guys. I love you guys. I'll see you guys next Wednesday again. And I'm going to hurry up and put this back up there. I am in agreement, and Women of Fire will be joining. And again, I got my prayer get point of contact. But thank you guys. Bye.